My name is Safa Ahmed, and my presentation is on the color of words, investigating the effects of consonant sounds in synesthesia. So what is synesthesia? Synesthesia is a neurological condition in which certain senses are blended together. There's multiple types of synesthesia, but I'm going to be focusing on grapheme color synesthesia and chromesthesia. Synesthesia is evoked when one sense induces a reaction in another concurrent sense. Grapheme color synesthesia is when people see colors when they look at words, letters, or numbers. And then chromesthesia is when people see colors when they hear sound. This video is of Caitlin Hova. This is a TED Talk. She has chromesthesia and her husband rigged up her violin so that we can see the colors that she sees when she hears different notes. It's important to note that different people with synesthesia will see different colors when looking at the same words, letters, numbers, or hearing the same sounds. There's two main theories for synesthesia. The hyperconnectivity theory is also known as the cross-activation theory. So basically it states that babies are born with connections in the brain that typically get pruned as they get older. So this theory assumes that neural pruning didn't fully occur in adults with synesthesia. So they believe that the hyperconnectivity in the brain regions that process the inducer and concurrent stimuli results in the formation of synesthetic associations. However, because different medications has been found to induce synesthesia in people who don't naturally have it, support for this theory is lessening. The disinhibited feedback theory states that usually when the brain sends a signal, it activates one area of the brain. So this theory assumes that there's an inhibition failure between the different brain regions, so that when the inducer pathways are activated, the concurrent pathways are also activated. So basically, pathways that should be independent aren't independent. For example, in people with chromesthesia, the seeing areas of the brain are also activated when only the hearing areas should be. For the genetic component, it's been found that 40% of people with synesthesia have a first-degree relative who also has synesthesia. The exact type of synesthesia isn't important, so someone with grapheme color synesthesia might have a first-degree relative with chromesthesia or another type of synesthesia entirely. There's different types of synesthesia, and so people who are associators see colors in the mind's eyes, and people who are projectors see the colors as being projected into space. People who have higher synesthesia, it's triggered by top-down processing, so that the inducer's conceptual characteristics is what induces the synesthesia, whereas people who have lower synesthesia, it's triggered by bottom-up processing, so the inducer's shape or texture is what results in the synesthesia. For my research question, the purpose of this experiment was to discern if different consonant sounds have an effect on chromesthesia and grapheme color synesthesia's word color associations. So specifically, I was trying to see if hard consonant words would be more likely to evoke darker intensities of color, while soft consonant words would be more likely to evoke lighter shades of color. For my independent variables, I was looking at the control group. I also had a grapheme color synesthesia group and a chromesthesia group. I was also looking at soft versus hard consonant words. For my dependent variables, I was studying both the color and the color intensity that was evoked in participants. My control group consisted of adult female undergraduate students, and my chromesthesia and grapheme color synesthesia experimental groups consisted of people from our synesthesia, the subreddit, Instagram, and Quora.com. These participants had to fill out a participant check to confirm that they actually have synesthesia, but then everyone had to fill out the informed consent form. For the methodology, there was a list of 20 words, which was consisted of 10 pairs of synonyms where one word had a hard consonant sound and one word had a soft consonant sound. For example, energetic and spry were two of the words used, and energetic was the hard consonant word and spry was a soft consonant word. So everyone was asked to type in one color and one color intensity that they most associated with each word. The color scale was a 1 through 10 numeric scale. 1 through 5 were seen as light, and then 6 through 10 were seen as darker shades. This graph shows the percent of time each color was perceived for hard consonant words in the different groups. As you can see, a lot of the grapheme responses included multiple colors and color intensities, and so these answers were actually not included in the final calculations. This graph shows the percent of time color was perceived for soft consonant words. Again, you can see that a lot of the grapheme answers included multiple colors and intensities. And so also you can see here that red, yellow, and blue were chosen most often overall, but the different groups. When I look at if color intensity differs by consonant sounds, I found that hard consonants had a slightly greater color intensity overall and for the different groups, but the individual, it didn't vary by much. To examine the effects of synesthesia, so chromesthesia versus the control, and then the consonant type hard versus soft on color and color intensity, I performed a 2x2 ANOVA. Grapheme results again weren't included because they didn't confirm to study instructions. The ANOVA revealed no significant interaction between consonant type and synesthesia. The color intensity didn't differ significantly between hard and soft consonant words, but the findings from this ANOVA did approach significance, so it's possible that the result could have been significant if we had had more participants. The hypothesis that harder consonant words would evoke darker intensities of color, while soft consonant words would be more likely to evoke lighter shades of color in people with chromesthesia was not supported by the study as the p-value wasn't significant. However, because the significance value for the difference in color intensity between hard and soft consonant words was approaching statistical significance, it's possible that the study was just insufficiently powered to detect the true effect. Because people with grapheme color synesthesia were more likely to answer with multiple colors and color intensities, it's possible that maybe they just see more colors and color intensities per word than people with chromesthesia. So it might have just been harder for them to try to pick a single color. As for the limitations, the study consisted of a relatively small sample. Also, participants weren't screened for being associators versus projectors or having higher versus lower synesthesia, which may have had an effect. The color scale was also limited, so maybe including more colors and color intensities would have helped people with grapheme color synesthesia, for example, to pick a specific color and color intensity. And then also if people with grapheme color synesthesia had been able to actually pick a specific color and color intensities instead of multiple, and if their answers had been able to be used in the calculations, it might have had an effect. For future research, more research will be needed to be conducted to study how synesthetic associations are made. This can be done for grapheme color synesthesia and chromesthesia, but for all the different types of synesthesias as well. Future research will also be needed to focus on whether synesthetic associations can be induced in people who don't actually have it and how it can be induced. As for applications, synesthesia is associated with multiple cognitive benefits. People with synesthesia are more often creatively inclined. So a lot of people with synesthesia go on to become artists or musicians. And it's also associated with memorization and learning skills. So some famous people with synesthesia include Beyonce, Vincent van Gogh, Nikola Tesla, and interestingly enough, also Stevie Wonder, who's blind but can perceive color. Also, teaching kids to make synesthetic associations between different letters and colors may result in more successful learning. For example, it may be easier to teach a young kid how to learn vocab when all the words are written in different colors instead of one color for all the words. Thank you. And does anyone have any questions?